Hey everyone, today's tactics video is about zoning. So as you get better at Warhammer, it's mostly about the potential of your army to do things that can cause a lot of problems for your opponent. So in this game, it was a very deliberate strategy by me to zone. If you get to the battle report, which is coming in a few days, here's my deployment against Rico's Tomb Kings, and this left flank on the first turn just collapses. So I'm pulling out on this left side, but I've made a deliberate choice on this side to use this terrain to zone in a number of ways his Necromancer, but also the Necrosphinx, which was the biggest threat to not only my Griffin, but my Mage has a bit of an advantage against him if I can go first. So I think we'd worked out that even if he charged me with Elven Reflexes, I would be casting Doppelganger first on the Necrosphinx. I'll have to check that, but we'll get to that in a second. So what happens is that flank collapses. I move my large targets around the side of this, or my Griffin large target, but my Mage into cover. And what I'm trying to do is really obvious in this right hand shot. So I think what I love about this list is the mage fulfills a number of different functions for the cost that's cheaper than a dragon. So we're playing at 1,500 points, which I think is a fantastic format, and in many ways better than 2,000 points, especially better than 2,000 plus. There are all these natural restrictions on armies where you end up playing varied lists, and big ward save, multi-save dragons are hard to play, so hard to fit in. So what ends up happening is this level 4 has a number of things in the list that it can do. On the first side, it has the Doppelganger combo. So White Sword, Monster Slayer Doppelganger. So with High Elves, it's particularly potent because you get the reroll. So it's there to have a last-ditch attempt at these large targets. On top of that, it has Miasmic Mirage, which is actually like plan A versus large targets, because again, you can re-roll it. And if you can get Mirage off, it's just better, because the best way to beat a dragon is not to YOLO in with Monster Slayers, to beat it on res, I believe. So the issue here is I want this Necrosphinx to be in my charge range, and then I might go for it. However, he has the Dispel Bubble up, and that's the other real sneaky bit about this format, is the way that level 4s, I think, cripple a lot of the creativity in the game. But you really need to contest spells. And in the last battle report I'll run for this tournament, being outside Dispel range was just brutal for my opponent. So here, his level 4 is in this block. And it's a very defensive level 4 in the sense that it's going to sit here and res things up, which it did here. It had brought back 6 skeletons after I chipped them down. But also, it's got a couple of magic missiles. It's going to be very hard to access that level 4, which is sort of your primary objective versus Tomb Kings, to see if you can get in there. Because my left flank had already collapsed, I'd sort of gone into drawish mode. And it's important to see here, this mage is fulfilling a number of functions. So it's got to stay within 19 inches of the Necrosphinx to be able to declare a charge, Swift Stride, Fly 10, and, give my opponent thoughts about that, because I can knock it out in one go. It's got to stay within 24 inches of this wizard to contest all its magic. Then you got to think about, does it want to stay out of 24 inches? Because that's where Ruby Ring could give me a hard time. I'm not too worried about that, because the level 4 is a +2 to dispel Ruby Ring. I can sort of take a Ruby Ring anyway, which is sort of what happens. He rolls well, but I've got a 4+ armor save against 50% wounds on the Ruby Ring anyway, so I take a couple of wins from that at some point in the game. But I ultimately shrink back behind cover, because that's not going to affect the dispel range. But if you can find, I guess if you're playing online, all these little circles come up and you can sort of see where the sweet spot is. But if you're trying to get better at this game, you got to think about the threat range of your pieces. And here I had a huge advantage where one 375 piece could sit back and sort of negated about 500 points of Rico's army. And that helped to recover a very minor, very, very minor win by the slightest of margins that you'll see in the battle report after I lost a lot of my sort of utility pieces at the start of the game. So yeah, I hope this will probably be the first. We've done a lot of videos on charge ranges and potential, and zoning is a huge part of how you control the game as you get on. So this is sort of a beginner's guide, but if you've got an army list, you really need to think carefully about what your threats are and how you manage your opposition in that way, especially with sort of elves or elite armies, like maybe demons, where you're going to die to a stiff breeze if you're out in the open. You really got to preserve everybody and think about the potential of your army and put your opponent in two minds so they have more opportunities to make mistakes and roll low. There you have it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.